Aphantasia. Imagine that. A concept that most people, apparently 98%, may find quite far removed from their ordinary thought process. How many times have you heard a sentence start with, or have said yourself, "Now imagine"? Well, some people can't, literally. A difference in ability only discovered or noticed in 1880 by academic all-rounder Sir Francis Galton, but not named or studied further in much detail until 2015, when it became aphantasia, a literal translation from the Greek meaning lack of fantasy, lack of, fantasia, fantasy, which in itself is a bit of a misnomer. It is not a lack of fantasy or imagination, but a lack of visual imagery. I personally had not heard of this until a few years ago, when we discovered my husband has it. Before this, we had what I thought were general communication issues, despite spending most of our time together and talking frequently about a range of subjects. I couldn't work out where the differences in opinions and thought processes were coming from, as they seemed quite illogical to me, and he is not illogical, so I knew there was something else. At first I thought it was me. I questioned myself and my brain about what and why, and I couldn't see it. I am fascinated by thought processes and how they impact our lives and actions and make us who we are, so wouldn't leave this one alone. The main point of issue seemed to be for me, the fact that I read and write fiction, and him not thinking it had any relevant place in society. I wanted to know why, really know how someone could think this of something I felt was so fundamentally necessary. It took many hours over a number of days for me to finally ask the right questions, trying not to make him feel like a test subject, coming to the conclusion of what was going on. I put forward the concept he had not considered or realised. I explained that when I read a book, my brain makes up pictures to accompany the words, or that I can replay movies that I have seen, mostly if seen enough times. You see pictures in your head? That sounds like witchcraft to me. I can't think of anything more alien. And we had it. We had found the difference that explained why he thought fiction was pointless. But that was the tip of the iceberg, really, of what was meant to be a simple explanation of why he didn't see things the way I did. With a little bit of internet research, I found the name, Aphantasia. That didn't make it easier, it turned out. I felt guilt at finding this out, of having to explain to someone why they were different, how they were different, and try and support how they were feeling, when I couldn't possibly understand. But it started to make sense. Enjoyment from fictional books that required you to imagine and picture the scene are completely lost on him. We did see the world differently, not just from a personal perspective, but with separate realities too. That might sound a bit dramatic, but it was and still is. Mine possibly not even entirely reality when I gave it more thought. I had always been so sure of my way of thinking, it brought into question for me the reliability of a brain that can conjure images, pretend at will, and change visual memories. Could non-aphantasic people be trusted at all? My husband asked me one question when I confirmed it is believed most people see images in their head. So when people are driving, sometimes they aren't thinking about driving and are imagining other stuff. That's terrifying. And it is, really. But changing the way I think about things has helped. I didn't expect him to, as he isn't wrong in the way he thinks, and neither am I. But I can imagine what it's like to not imagine. It's as close as I can get, but I see the irony. What I previously saw as difficult behaviour by my standard wasn't when I saw it from his standard. That's where our realities will always be different, and always were, but with a new twist now. He is better at directions and orientation. His memory is more accurate than mine on certain things. He learns quickly. He is focused. But on the downside, he gets frustrated easily. He can't picture me if I'm not in the room. There are pros and cons to each thought process, as there usually is with any situation or way of being to a person trying to navigate their way through life. But while we as a species continue to study memory, thought, ideas, and who we are as people, it was inevitable to me we would find variations. I just didn't realise what societal implications those variations would have on both sides. There is a much broader issue here compared to what I first believed.